for me, were like Gofriller cellos. But for the most part, I tried plenty of Strat cellos that I would prefer to play my Gofriller.
What is a wolf tone for people that are not musicians?
It's a fault in the instrument. Hey, we all have faults, you know. it is, you know, the cello is like this anthropomorphic entity, right? I mean, we talk about the body of the instrument and the neck of the instrument, and so it's very much like a human being. It's got its faults.
Long ago, when I was a student, my teacher once said to me, "Ty, in anything beautiful, look closely enough and you're sure to find a flaw. Even in the finest cello, at an interval above an open G string, a harmonic convergence occurs, a wolf tone, a harsh, piercing collision of two notes that rings like the devil's spitfire, which is to say, nothing worthwhile ever exists without remorse. We are left with choices. Learn to live with our demons or leave it all behind. For the lucky few who can look beyond those things that would ruin us, then and only then can we find purpose, truth, and our way back home. For in the end, we're all imperfect instruments." In the summer of 2013, an American chamber orchestra toured Italy. 6 concerts, 6 cities. It was there amidst the history, the beauty, the sound, and the fury. In the cradle of classical music, while filming the tour, I met a virtuoso and teacher named Matt Heimovitz and some inspiring young musicians who taught me the true meaning of music and changed my life forever. Silicon Valley, a place synonymous with technology, progress, innovation, where startups spring from the sidewalks and modern ideas change the world. it's in this abandoned classroom, a low-tech art form is flourishing.
One thing I really enjoy about my job at Payco is coming into the Cubberley rehearsal room and seeing these teenagers. These are normal kids. They pick up these carved pieces of wood, horsehair, strings. These instruments are based on models that were created 300 and 400 years ago.
My name is Satvik. I play violin. I really like just playing music. It's a really good way of expressing myself. Through music, this is really helping you in your life because you're working with others and playing.
You know, I'm not such a religious person, but I think music is actually my religion. It's a great art form. It's a wonderful way of expressing things that can't be said any other way. It's for meeting minds that lived maybe 300 years ago and saying, how could they have said that? It's like magic. Music is just like magic. I couldn't live without music.
There's no world, there's no life without music. If you don't sing when you perform or you play, it doesn't mean anything. The music can reach deep into the soul. You don't have to communicate with speaking a language, because this is the language that you can speak. For me, I couldn't live without music.
You just get to have fun and get to play really fun songs and have a really fun conductor, and you just meet new friends.
We all have a voice, but we need to cooperate. We need to pull our own weight. We need to put what we can into a group enterprise and come out with something that's beautiful.
And let's go back to 126, please. Good, Catherine, good. You're not too soft?
Playing well with others is not just limited to music. It can be in anything you do. Like, as long as you love it and you're doing it with people that also love it and you love each other, that's really what playing well with others is all about.
Playing well with others is almost the point of playing together. It's almost like the music matters less than the human interaction aspects.
My name is Ben Simon, and I'm the music director of the Palo Alto Chamber Orchestra. Playing chamber music as a paradigm for existing in society is a very powerful enterprise. I've seen and experienced the power of music to pull communities together, to pull adults and young people together, to break down boundaries and differences between people with this universal language. And I know from my own experience, it took me a long time to learn how to make music. I was very musical, but mostly when you're young, you're fixated on your scales and you're practicing your solo pieces. And what Payco does, and what I'm trying to help these young musicians do, is find the joy inside the music. It's not the notes, but it's what's underneath the notes, and it's the making of music in a group setting. You know, chamber orchestra and a string quartet, and finding ways of making the music. And I think that's what turns the kids on. So we're trying to basically turn their world from the black and white of a technical approach to the color, or maybe into 3 dimensions in a way. You're trying to add that dimension, which is where all the fun is.
Zach, that was good. You were getting into it a little bit. I want everyone to do that. Woohoo, that's good.
What Payco is about is less the technical accomplishments than what's inside. But what we're looking for is that spark, the joy in the playing. Those are the kids we want in Payco. We don't just want the technicians. Faster and louder isn't better. It's It has to come from inside. So you can see very quickly which of the kids are enjoying their playing and which of the kids sort of look like they've kind of been pressured into it and locked into their rooms for hours a day in order to get this technical facility. The skills they learn in rehearsal and in performance, how you have to take your own responsibility, but how you need to rely on others, how teams can work together to create a product that you could never create yourself. All these are really important lessons that they don't really even know they're learning, but they are.
Peiko's fun because you get to play in a group.
It's a way to express yourself in a way that nothing else can. Being able to do that with other people is just an unmatchable experience.
Not more about individual getting better, it's like more of a group and how well you can work together.
Peiko's big family, definitely.
They've learned the skill of playing well with others. They've learned how to be comfortable in a group, to assert themselves, to be humble, to communicate, to bring up their own ideas. Giving our youngsters these tools and a way to express themselves and to work in teams and to learn how to play well with others is the most important lesson we can be giving. So we're changing the world one string quartet at a time. Our chamber music is at the core of our program, which I think is different than any other youth orchestra, because we feed them the greatest literature in the world, which is the string quartet literature, and then we put them in a corner of someone's living room and go, okay, go to work. We're training not only musicians, but people. We try to break down these stereotypes that if you're not concertmaster and first violin, you've somehow failed. Once you get into Peiko, you've succeeded. You have made it. You're part of our family. It doesn't really matter what orchestra you're in, what part you're playing, whether you're first or second violin, front or back. We try to make that as clear as possible, that our system is blind to position and to seating, and everyone is important. And I think that's an important lesson for them to learn too. They're all accomplished musicians already. They've taken violin lessons, cello lessons, viola lessons. Each instrument has their ecosystem, has their niche of sound. The cello's down here, first violin's up there, and everyone else fills this in, so you get this rainbow of sound from the cello up to the first violin. So chamber music literally means one person on a part. A string quartet would be one first violinist, one second violinist, one viola, cello. So as soon as they're by themselves on a part, you have to take responsibility for that viola part. That's yours. You have to own it. They're working out the details of the piece. They're working out the music and figuring out how to do it, how to make the music better and more easily and more naturally. And that takes a lot of work. You have to put your voice forward to make comments and suggestions, and also to take criticism.
That's what you do when you go out in the world. You're working with people, and you might not like their opinion, but maybe you have to hear their opinion.
How does this happen? What is the secret recipe? How do you do it?
Well, it's a process, of course. But the entry level where we like students to come into Peiko is about 3rd and 4th grade.
1 and 2 and ready. Hey!
We have 5 levels in Peiko, and they're all small string chamber orchestras, so about 25 members apiece. We do have a farm system. Coming into an orchestra is a major step in their development. Each orchestra is like a family. Chris Yenny is fabulous at working with these younger kids.
I first joined Peiko at the age of 9 or 10. The magic of Peiko, what's the magic? The magic is the making of human connections, to the making of just the creative process of making almost anything.
What Chris does, she takes the raw material, which are these young children who are very excited about music and have the technical grounding to get started. And she puts them in the orchestra the first day it sounds terrible. The second day, it sounds a little less terrible. As the weeks go on, she's teaching them to listen and to play together as they graduate up through our ensemble level.
My affiliation with PECO started in 1967 or 68. I was 9 years old, 10 years old, and auditioned for Bill Whitson. This is the second or third year that Bill had the Palo Alto Chamber Orchestra.
All of the conductors that I had experienced created music through fear. And what I did, through having studied with people like Adolf Mahler, they created music through logic and love. And so I realized there was another way to reach out to young people.
Bill Whitson formed the PECO as a backlash against that big playing and where the individual wasn't so important, where he could teach people about loving to play chamber music, and he wanted to do a smaller group so that people could shine and could talk instead of just always talking through a group.
Bill and I had a wonderful friendship, with a wonderful collaboration. I'm Jenny Rudin, and I've been associated with PECO for many, many years. I remember him as a wonderful human being and passionate about music and people, and he loved the kids. The kids was his life. He wanted the kids to grow and learn music and live music. And finally started in the living room, barely made it 20, and then 25, and then it grew into another orchestra and another orchestra.
It would be great to have a time-lapse little video of like every year to follow one child go through PECO.
In rock, you have, or pop music, you have these hits, that sort of last a year or two. And classical music, these are hits that have lasted, hundreds of years for good reason. We read Shakespeare and we look at Matisse and Picasso and we listen to Beethoven and Bach and Mozart. These are some of the great minds that the human race has miraculously created.
Matt Heimovitz was a Palo Alto boy. His mother brought him to me, and so I started him. I forget how old he was. Maybe he was 7 or 8. And he had a babysitter. His mom worked. He had a babysitter, and the babysitter bribed him not to practice because she was supposed to practice with it. And I kept thinking he just couldn't do Twinkle Little Star. I don't know why, And then I finally figured out he wasn't practicing at all. And the mom then said, "Oh, the babysitter is paying him not to practice." And so that's how he got started.
I think anybody hearing Beethoven's Fifth Symphony or Mozart's G minor symphony for the first time will just be blown away by how beautiful the music is.
Matt is one of the most interesting professionals working today. He has really done as much as anyone to break down the barriers between classical music and our audiences. He did a tour of the 48 contiguous states where he played in coffee houses and bars and bookstores and just would bring his van into some small town, get out and sit in front of the bookstore and start playing Bach solo suites. Someone of that caliber, and also, of course, with his Peiko training, he's really making a difference.
He's a world-renowned soloist these days, but still is very close to the organization. My name is Kerry Chin. I'm the president of the Palo Alto Chamber Orchestra.
Kerry shared with me that Chamber Orchestra was planning to tour Italy with Matt as the soloist.
Every 3 years, approximately, Peiko goes on an international tour.
The Italian tour is the first time that Peiko has been to Italy, it turns out.
Ty, I have an idea. Why don't you bring your film crew with us to Italy? We'll have a fabulous time, and you can watch the kids as we travel to these beautiful places and meet these young Italian musicians.
What an amazing vision that would be for a historic record for this organization.
And that is where the story became very personal. When I was a kid, all I really wanted to be was a cellist. My childhood heroes had names like Pablo Casals, Gregor Piatigorsky, Emanuel Feuermann, Mstislav Rostropovich, and others. There was a time once when the public embraced classical music, when its artists seemed larger than life and were treated like gods, when classical music was everywhere, on television.
Tomorrow night you will be honored by the presence of one of the most distinguished artists of the concert stage, Mr. Gregor Piatigorsky, who will make his first television appearance on our program. No less an authority than the eminent conductor, Dr. Serge Koussevitzky, has called him the world's greatest cellist. Mr. Piatigorsky doesn't arrive in town until tomorrow, so I haven't been able to get all those interesting, intimate, personal tidbits you've come to expect about our stars.
How does it sound, Mr. Kudler?
A Stradivarius in the hands of Piatigorsky, and you ask Kudler how it sounds.
Stradivarius? Wasn't he a violin maker?
Yes, a great one, young lady. But his genius was shown even more in his cellos. Come, I'll show you.
But there's so many things I must ask Mr. Piatigorsky.
On radio,
QSR in New York.
At all.
Tower.
Record.
classical music was on record albums and sold by record clubs.
13 tapes or 13 records of your choice when you join the Columbia Record and Tape Club.
I performed like a dutiful soldier in school and community orchestras. Later, I brought my cello to Stanford, where I attended college. But after graduation, the cello and I parted ways for good. Over time, I had lost my joy of music. It had been years since I picked up the cello. I never spoke of these things until now. I decided to accept their invitation for 2 reasons. I knew there was something I could learn from these students. The The second reason was Carrie. 30 years ago in college, we formed a classical trio and a deep friendship that lasted to this day. That's actually Carrie playing the violin. And that's yours truly on the cello.
Have you seen Ben by any chance?
I gotta make sure we got enough violinists for our concert. We can't afford to lose any more violinists. Hey! Welcome to New York.
What's going on here with the kids?
Well, we were in Ashland like 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Some bug the kids picked up. We had 2 calls this morning.
Kids are actually not going.
Kids are actually not going.
Unbelievable.
I think we've had 8 or 10 kids who have had stomach distress. Wow. T. William, who's one of our, front row violinists, fainted in the plane.
Oh my gosh.
So
wow.
There was a nurse sitting near him. They gave him oxygen.
Wow.
So there was a paramedic from American Airlines.
Oh my gosh.
Was going to meet them.
Serious.
And of course they're going to call his parents, see what he wants to do. Did you bring your violin, Ty?
You know, I can probably
You're the
squeak
cello.
by on the cello, so I doubt it though.
Michelle, you okay? Not really.
With the first violin section in crisis, another bad omen appears.
You left your M&Ms on the plane.
I had a serious issue. Yes, I left my M&Ms on the plane. This bag of M&Ms cost me $9.
In less than 48 hours, Ben and the students will take the stage with Matt Heimovitz.
We have no rehearsal time. And it's making me nervous, and it's making Matt a little nervous. Well, it is an unusual situation. Yeah. You usually don't meet the soloist the day of the concert and have an hour or 2 to rehearse your piece. I'm trying to hold his hand a little bit and just go, you know what, we're gonna do the best we can. We've got 1 rehearsal the day after tomorrow.
Right.
In Castiglione.
And the Skype, you did the Skype rehearsal.
Skype, we had some technical difficulties. And apparently he couldn't hear anything that we were playing.
Gosh, wow.
That's weird. He's blocked us. But he could see us. He was nodding his head. He was looking like he could hear us, but I know that he couldn't because I heard the audio that he was hearing, and it was dreadful.
Just be aware of that for everybody's safety. Do not have your passport together with your money. Passports should be kept separately. I assume the chaperones are holding the passports, right? Okay, good. I like that. Does everybody know where we are? We're in Rome. We're in Italy. Italy is, just in case you forgot.
Rome, one of the great cities of the world. There's a difference between here and anywhere else. The air, it just smells different. The heat, the lack of sleep, the pace of the tour guides, which at times sounds like they're talking to themselves, is relentless. Did I mention the heat? It's hot. The sunlight is everywhere. The weather here is like a fickle traveling companion. With the instruments safely tucked away in the belly of the bus, the kids are in high spirits. No sighting of Matt yet. I'm told that we'll meet up with him later.
So we'll be starting in Rome and going north through Tuscany and Florence and the Lake District, which is one of the most beautiful parts of the world. It's really the whole point of playing an instrument, is be able to play music with other people.
Oh, okay, it's not alive. See, now we're going to sit with glasses.
Hey, it's smiling. An added feature of our PECO tours are opportunities to play with young musicians in various towns, a school orchestra, a little festival orchestra. Our tour coordinator has us playing with young people several places, but I think connecting with other young musicians will be the highlight of the tour for all of them. Finding other 15, 16-year-olds who may or may not speak English, but they all play the violin, they all play the string instrument, so they can speak the language of music and work together.
Tell me your name again.
Alice Spril.
And what is your instrument?
Cello.
And how long have you been playing the cello?
Since I was a child, I started at 11. There's a lot of students. The music school is almost 30 years old. In this city is very important because every child plays on instruments. Music is everything because I've grown up with music. I've found a family with music and I found friends thanks to music. It's a richness that I have. It's a passion.
Dylan has been moved up to first chair to help solve the problem in the first violin section.
Thank you. Let's just do the first note, just the first note a couple times. Breathe and then, beautiful.
I hear this sound and I'm alive again.
I've been sort of searching for something that would be, very meaningful for me and something I could devote my life to. Music is the thread that has pulled my life together. And who would think that you could get a room full of teenagers so engaged with this really old-fashioned sort of thing to do? And I love that. It touches my heart. It's the whole point of music. It's the whole point of their playing in the first place. And you woke up today and a little jet lagged and it's hot and we're all a little tired and we have a busy day. And I just got into that room and I just felt totally energized by all the musicians up there and their bows moving and their faces crackling with energy. It was very exciting.
We enjoy a lot and we are very happy that you are in our town with our lake and our castle because we are very proud of our being Italian and being from Umbria and Castiglione del Lagos.
What was this like for you playing with them?
It was a great experience. I'm very excited for tonight, and I think it's the very meaning of the music to play together with other people from other countries. So thank you for this chance, and thank you.
Half a world away, they discover they have so much in common through music.
It was really cool. My stand partner was, I think, around my age, and she played really well, of course, and I think it was really good experience being able to play with them, even though we speak different languages, but music is a universal language.
There's a language barrier between us because we're from different countries, but I think it was great because we're all musicians, so we're all able to communicate with each other, and that's what's so great about music is that you can just communicate with anyone from around the world.
Being able to sort of appreciate the depth of our musical understanding with Peko and with Ben, and being able to share that with the Italians, it's really something.
What I want Matt to say today is, gee, you guys play so much better than those kids from Juilliard. Probably the hardest thing we're going to do on tour is what's coming up, is in the next hour. That's a great picture of Matt. I love that picture of Matt, yeah. We're about to rehearse the Boccherini in there. I don't know what I know what the fast stuff's gonna sound like. Matt's here. I'm hoping that Matt is totally cool with how we're playing the Boccherini. If he's not, then I have to walk that line. We both have to come to an understanding of how well this piece is going to go for the amount of time that we have for it. I mean, if we had 3 more days and rehearsals, we could obviously get it to a different place than it's going to be tonight. And just to have both of us relax about how the Boccherini is going to go. That's my goal for this rehearsal. Let's move back, please, so we can get Matt in here.
The first few minutes set the tone for the entire rehearsal. Relaxed, collegial, fun.
Oh, I'm sorry, you know what? That was the wrong place. You were absolutely right, 23.
That sounded good. So it's not like da-da, but you know, just kind of going in and out. That was very nice.
He's watching, he's listening to every player in the room and how they play a single note.
Yeah. I wouldn't retard because it's going to make my life very yeah, definitely take it over. You're not in a section. You're every single player counts. I mean, that's what I learned when I was in Peco, and that's the reason Peco is, I think, different than some of your other orchestral experiences. I can tell you one story. When I with Bill Whitson, that comes to mind. He would terrorize us actually by we would get to the rehearsal, and if we didn't know our parts, we were in trouble. We could not hide behind a section. So if he would know exactly who didn't know the part.
Yeah, when you get really under control, you can't do that without bending your whole body. And I mean, there's no way.
He would stop, and we would know this, and he would point to the person in the back and say, play that part from bar 20 to 40, and we'd have to play. I don't see that ever going on these days. I've never heard of somebody being singled out, in a section to play. I don't know if you can get away with that these days, but it was a great thing because it taught us personal responsibility.
Let's go from 40. Okay. My role here is as a teacher. My job is to pull the best out of the kids, which is sort of a constant pushing. But I also believe that you catch more flies with honey. Same thing. Catch your child doing something good and praise them, and they'll want to do it again and better.
Tonight, like his teacher Leonard Rose did before him, Matt will perform a cadenza that he wrote himself.
I like to go to the source, and I do a lot of work with manuscripts and going back to, Mr. Rose was my teacher, so I have all those international editions, but I've changed all that.
It's just a furious pace, and watching you work.
It's like speed chess,
This thing, that cadenza, you blew my mind. You did this one sort of like the highest register I've ever heard the cello.
Wait till tonight, yeah.
Wow.
I start fiddling.
I can't believe it. And the eyeballs just went,
It's such an inspiration. He's an amazing cellist. And in his cadenzas of the piece, it's unbelievable to get to watch him and get to watch him perform.
Well, so good luck tonight. We'll be there. We'll watch how this all comes together day 1 of the real day, right?
We'll have some fun. I think the adrenaline will kick in, the jet lag will
wear out.
Yeah, will be a thing of the past.
What a treat. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. We'll see you tonight.
Thanks.
Okay.
See you tonight.
Everything that is difficult about a tour kind of washes away when you're actually doing the music.
The concert tonight is being held in a castle, literally a castle. 2 of the pieces this evening will be conducted by students. Aku.
We're a family, which is not to say that we do not argue and we don't not get along, but we have a tighter bond than, again, many other groups, and we have a very unified group. It's everybody is able to go up to anybody and work with them.
And Jared.
I think one of the most special things is that our repertoire, playing the music that was written here in Italy by Vivaldi and Boccherini and people like them, and we're playing the same music that was premiered here, written here by these composers.
We'll see if we can get this piece to a higher level by showing them what to listen for. Listening is one of the keys, because when you're learning an instrument and you're practicing, you're really just listening to yourself. And it's not easy. It's a skill to be able to play your own instrument at the right volume and doing everything right while you're listening to people around you. And that's difficult, but once you figure that out, or you get on that path and you start being able to listen better and better, your experience of the music is greatly, it sort of goes from 2 dimensions, which is your own playing, into 3, which is your playing in this group.
The concert goes well, and the decision to move Dylan into the first chair is a successful one. And while the concert goes on upstairs, Matt allows our cameras unprecedented access to follow him minutes before he's about to take the stage.
I tell my students, one performance is worth 10 lessons.
For anyone who has even dreamed of performing, you know the prayer. The prayer every artist makes as he summons an answer from the universe when facing a moment of self-reflection, doubt, and truth. A prayer for strength, for help, for courage. Show me a sign that this is meant to be.
To bring it here to Italy is very special, the origin of the instrument in a way. There's so much, the air, the water we drink, the streets we walk through in these medieval towns, there's so much history, and no doubt the spirits are there.
You can feel the fear, the anticipation, the electricity in the air, that he's going to have it out right here and right now. He's about to walk the tightrope without a net, and in a few minutes, anything can happen.
Just amazing to see how they absorb information, and there's no limit to what you can do, whether they're going to be musicians or not. It's you hear it very quickly.
Picasso had it so right. Art is not what you see, but what you make others see, or feel, or hear. Maybe art is really about authenticity, that if you live and play from the center of your chest, people will respond. After only a few hours of rehearsal, they've accomplished something rare and remarkable. They're playing well with others. On the same day they met this world-class soloist, these young musicians are now performing as an ensemble. For Matt, it's a homecoming, returning to an orchestra he once played with as a child, this time as their teacher. Returning to Italy, where the music and even these very instruments were first crafted. And for Matt's cello, it also promises to be a momentous journey home, something that Matt nor I could ever predict or would ever forget. It would awaken memories about a cellist who found his voice, who made a life in music, who became my friend. and taught me the real joy of making music.
Pienza. Pienza is on top of a hill, but it's a high plain, so the town itself is flat.
As we prepared to leave for Pienza, everything but the castle walls seemed temporary.
It's a completely different culture, and it's really different from America. Like, you walk around and you see all these ancient buildings, and they're all like made from 2 centuries ago, 3 centuries ago, and it's so interesting to see such like a grounded kind of culture, because in America we build a lot of new things instead of sort of appreciating more of the old.
Many of those ancient beautiful things are instruments with a history of craftsmanship and innovation.
When I came to Italy, I found out just by chance that, just a few yards from my house, the inventor of the piano was born there.
There is no deeper bond than between musician and instrument.
My name is Tessera, and I played violin and viola in Peco for 7 years. It's almost like it's a part of you, and I know that I care about my instrument a lot, and I think all of the musicians that I know do as well. This is my instrument, like it's part of me. It's like another arm. It's like a part of you that you can't really be yourself without. I mean, if everybody could be able to have that connection, it's a lot of fun.
Well, that feels so much better.
I mean, I can see the light in your face just...
That feels so much better. That's my love.
I'm Hans. I am Peco's office manager. I also coach ensembles, I conduct when I have to, and I've been coaching at summer camp for the past 5 years.
I thought it was beautiful. I loved the way it looked. Oh, and I needed a better viola. I didn't like the way it sounded under my ear, and instruments can sound a lot different when you're standing on the other end of the room. And so, what you do is you play a bunch of instruments. So I borrowed violas from everyone I knew, and every time I played this new one, people said, "Oh yeah, that's fantastic. You have to buy that."
In this moving canvas under a Tuscan sun, all things get washed away, and all that's left is beauty. I hear their stories, and it reconnects me with my own past. My first real cello was like an injured bird. The strings were much too high, and my bow was of poor quality. It actually hurt my hands to play. I still loved it, as even novice players know. An instrument is a huge part of a musician's identity. I met a violinist named William on the castle steps, and his willingness to share his story deeply moved me.
When I first started playing violin when I was 6, I really hated it. My mom was a musician, and that made things worse because she would make me play it her way, and it was really frustrating. And I really hated music so much, but and I didn't like Peco either. But I stuck with it, and Ben really encouraged me, and I finally got to see what music was really like. And it's not supposed to be like a burden or something you have to do. It's really an opportunity that you get to do, and Peco really emphasized that it's something you do with others, and I finally learned that it was something to share with other people, and I feel like if I were in another orchestra I wouldn't get that, and I would not be playing music right now.
That is such a powerful thing you just said, that music is not a burden, it's something to share with people. That is a huge lesson that even adults don't figure out.
Through music and playing well with others, these students have figured out so many of life's complex lessons.
When I don't want to talk about how I'm feeling, or when I'm just sort of angry and don't know how to get it out, I can just play and the music sort of calms me, or I can just, get into the music. It's almost like closer than family to me. Yeah, it's something I go to when I'm feeling in need.
I was starting to believe maybe those things that haunt us can be left behind.
What is the cello for you? What is the instrument itself like? What does it mean to you?
At this point, very much a companion. I've had the same cello for 25 years.
Tell me the name of your cello. It's a Venetian maker, correct? 1710?
Right, from Venice, Matteo Gofriller. One of the great, particularly cellos that he created were great.
Why?
He made other violins and violas, but
the sound?
Yeah, the sound, the depth of sound, the individuality of each instrument. They're all a little different, but they all share a richness of sound, and particularly in the bass, and kind of characteristic of being able to dig in to the instrument. Many cellists over the years, many solo cellists have preferred, or chamber music cellists have preferred the Gofrillers over Stradivarius, Casals, Jan Starker.
Pablo Casals played the same maker's instrument, correct?
He did,
yeah. And you played Pablo Casals' cello at the request of his widow after he passed on. You played it for 3 years, then, right?
That's right.
Pablo Casals was my childhood hero.
Only the most qualified are asked to play the most beautiful of instruments. I mean, that's quite a...
Well, it was definitely an honor. On the other hand, these days instruments are so expensive that for a young artist, I mean, when Partita Casals Stoneman generously loaned me the cello, I didn't have any cello to play on. So there was a point where I had another Guarneri cello on loan, and the patron asked for it back. I gave it back, and I had nothing.
When you were their age, the Peco kids, you have a clear recollection of what it was like to play in Peco.
Yeah.
You remember, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah. A lot of the foundation, a lot of the music foundation was back then. Growing up, this was the chamber music foundation that I had.
When was the first year you heard the cello, the instrument itself?
I was 8.
You were 8, and then you began with Irene Sharp, who we interviewed.
Oh, great.
And Irene told us this funny story how the babysitter once paid you not to play.
That's true.
Is it true? Okay,
That's
tell
true.
me.
Of all the secrets and stories shared with me from this extended musical family, I will tell you one now that deeply moved me.
Sorry.
Jenny Rudin is a renowned violin teacher who has taught many of this chamber orchestra students over the years, including Matt. When I asked her about her first instrument, she paused and shared with me a painful memory.
The violin actually saved my life.
And you said music saved your life.
Exactly. It did, because if without the violin I wouldn't be able to go to Moscow. Because in those days, even the Russians, although they were under Stalin, they just didn't respect what you're doing. But somehow I was able to get out of it. I was 15 then, and I traveled to Moscow all by myself in a kettle car, and I was robbed. Took out somebody. It was slept on the sanduk or suitcase, and somebody cut open the suitcase, took out what is there.
While in her 80s, Jenny still yearns for that violin. Kol Nidre, a prayer sung in synagogues on the eve of Yom Kippur, an expression of repentance for all unfulfilled vows. Pitigliana was a refuge for the Jewish community. The students toured a museum and a synagogue rarely used for services. Our cameras were allowed into the museum, and Matt, out of respect, played this solemn prayer as his teacher did half a world away.
It's kind of indescribable. I mean, it's just more like a feeling. You can't really like say it in words.
It just kind of shows how like it's not about us on this trip, like about the music. It's really about the experience here and how different the culture is, and it's something we would never be able to experience at home.
So we cry, we laugh, we dream, and perhaps even find shelter. The road to Pienza is long and windy. All things are beautiful if we choose to see the beauty. In the end, all that is left is art. Our fickle travel companion made an unexpected appearance. Rain fell through the open atrium, causing pandemonium as they pushed back the chairs to safeguard the instruments from the elements, which allows Ben and Matt to continue working with the students to craft each piece.
We put the piece together chunk by chunk so that they understand what's going on, they understand their role in it, and then when things come together, they go, wow, that was a lot different.
Great. All right, here's my speech for the day. You could only feel something if you could see it. And so what he's trying to do, in a way, with repeating these phrases over and over again and these motives, is kind of like a snapshot. So I just wanted to sort of say, you know, enjoy the variation and the little variations and the repeating gestures. To this day, I perform and I teach. But some of those kids are going to be great doctors, cure cancer, and they're going to do great things, but and I don't know how many of them will end up in music. Some of them certainly will, you can sense right away.
By concert time, the weather had returned to sunshine. But by the next concert, Mother Nature would show she could strike back in ways that no one can predict.
I don't think enough people get to see what happens in the dressing rooms and in the rehearsal rooms of an orchestra. The concert, you know, is the tip of the iceberg. It's the last 90 minutes. Whatever happens on stage tonight will happen.
You're going to let our cameras trail you.
I'm inviting you to take that walk with me. Come out on the stage, follow me. Feel my nerves, watch the orchestra, the anticipation. Again, it's the moment before the music starts that the nervous energy starts to rise. I won't let any of the kids take their instruments out. And Matt obviously won't take his cello out.
Okay.
Tonight's concert may be canceled.
It's really too bad. We could play at 9 o'clock, but we can't play at 7. It's not going to happen.
The weather, our fickle travel companion, has rejoined the tour. This time, blazing sunshine and no available shade create a quandary for conductor Ben Simon. It's the conductor's job to make sure the students and their instruments are treated with the utmost care.
It's not tough on the instruments. It's dangerous to the instruments. It's bad for the instruments. I mean, Matt's got $1 million cello. He's not, you cannot bring an instrument in. We cannot play in the sun. It's not possible.
As Ben searches for Matt to discuss the situation, he asks for a moment of privacy.
Can we do this without the camera, please?
Yes.
Please, Ty. Sure. I mean, I've been a string player my whole life.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't open my case in the sunshine, and I wouldn't ask anybody else to do it.
This feels like sun.
It's sun. I mean, it's cool. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. But we're not going to play in the sun. Yeah.
It takes a few conversations, but Ben manages to find a solution.
This evening in this gorgeous venue.
Siamo lieti di essere qui in questo bellissimo posto.
We are making a few changes in our program just to keep things interesting for the orchestra as we do our tour around the northern part of Italy.
Or what it literally means to play well with others. The concert will start 2 hours late.
Things can only get easier from here, Ben.
No,
okay,
it's all good.
Imagine a world where everybody cooperated. Imagine a world where your voice can be heard and where your efforts are going toward a project that's larger than yourself, but you're involved in a company or a team or a family or a community and you're working together to create something that's larger than the sum of its parts, is what Peiko is all about. So this is probably the most beautiful place I've ever seen in the world. There's only one problem, is that, and I want you to take a lesson from this, you are not supposed to put your instruments in the direct sunlight. And that's why we're not rehearsing, and that's why we're not starting the concert at 7 o'clock.
The show's going to go on. We're just trying to figure out a solution.
Exactly, that's right.
We're not going to cancel.
I didn't want Matt too worried about the sun issues, and I wanted to let him know that I was worried for the kids' instruments.
Good luck to you. Thanks a lot. And with the sun shining on us.
At 9 o'clock, it's going to be dark, and there'll be no visuals. So this concert will not be documented with David's camera in my direction, but Josh can probably run microphones.
With no stage lighting, the sun sets. We wanted to show you a highlight from this concert, but this is what it looked like through our lens. So we decided to do a video journal just to keep track of emotions and things that are going on around the shoot. It's been a hard shoot here because it's just so wonderful to be in Italy, but at the same time, the first couple days have just been incredibly grueling. I have to say that most of these concert tours, you hit the rough patch right in the middle. Well, you know, we got 3 pretty big kicks to the gut. Still, the kids are having fun. The question really is, is what happens next? In Pisa, with an acre of iPhones and cameras rolling, the guards ordered us to stop filming the Leaning Tower. We found Matt at this cafe, and he decided to play this for the guards. Finally, some good news. One of the tour leaders, Vey, has good news to share about T. William, the young violinist who fell ill at the beginning of the tour.
His mom arrived last night around 10:30 into Florence from Tokyo. William is doing much better. They didn't find anything really wrong. So he's doing really well. He's really happy. He's up and walking. And we don't know. They'll probably hang on to him for a couple more days. He's hoping that he'll rejoin the group. We're not sure in what form or how involved. We hope he really wants to play. So he was really happy when he saw his violin and his luggage. But he might come in later, but probably not.
In Lucca, everywhere you walk, there seems to be music. A short stroll down the street and history hits you in the face.
What I want to do this morning until 11:30, okay, it's visit Lucca, okay.
Minstrels on the street play their music under the statue of Puccini. Puccini left Lucca to seek his fortune but returned home. His residence is now a museum.
Boccherini was born here. Boccherini was born in Lucca, in the center of Lucca.
Boccherini, who never returned home. Where he lived, all that's left is a plaque. As the tour concluded, the guide asked the students if we wanted to see a school named after Boccherini. As we arrived, we met a cello teacher who opened the gate and let us go inside with our cameras to see the death mask of Boccherini.
When this is exactly what he would look like, Boccherini's face, right? See.
Later, when I told Matt we were allowed inside the school and were allowed to see Boccherini's death mask, Matt got in a car with his family and returned to the school to see if he could get inside. There's an old saying, you are the person you really are when no one is watching. He played the cadenza that he had written under the statue of Boccherini.
I really wanted Boccherini's reaction to my cadenzas, so I took out the cello and just quietly played one of the cadenzas because I sort of felt like his spirit must be still there. So Luna sort of filmed it on her iPhone, inspired by you, Ty.
Matt called it his pilgrimage, to somehow get closer to the composer and to the music.
I want to feel connected to the origin of the music, and what better inspiration than to go to the place of his birth and where he grew up and just soak in that history and tradition.
I think it's really amazing that it's just like we're like so close to like where he lived, and then it's just like something from like so long ago we can just like still come here and just like see it.
It's generally when I play a piece, I don't particularly think about the composer's origins. Like all we really think about in terms of composers is what type of music they play and what kind of style they want. But if we actually go back and go to their home and their birthplace, it's actually like we get more of an insight of the actual piece itself.
I really have to like thank Peiko for like connecting everything, because not only are we just like playing music like orchestras, but we're also going through the life of like each composer and through like the musical culture.
Often young musicians or young students are asking for the answers. What am I supposed to do here? What do I do? How do I do it? And I go, what do you think you're supposed to do here? Or think of something you could do there, and then think of something else. Open themselves up. Give them the tools. Open up their own imaginations and let them work.
It's 10:30 at night. The students are practicing in a sectional for tomorrow's concert.
Mostly right now it's intonation.
So you're checking your notes, right?
Yeah.
Against each other.
They're teaching each other. Students teaching students. Something that they learn at a camp held every summer before they launch their season.
And then they have to help someone younger. They have to use their own skills and their own ideas for someone else. And that's a great way to learn as well.
Where teachers and students spend a concentrated amount of time focused on one movement of one piece, to work together as a team to accomplish a goal, a skill that they will take with them for the rest of their life. The students are still practicing as Matt walks through the door to conduct a master class.
Did you all hear, what did you hear? You dissect this bar for me. What bothered you about what we just did? Anybody?
We were kind of long. It felt
Okay.
a little more heavy.
Right, we sort of added in as to camouflage. It's a little bit like, well, I love Indian food actually, but you know, it's like we don't want to add sauce because the meat isn't completely fresh. And not that 3.
Do you think about Leonard Rose at all these days? When you're playing, when you're teaching, when you're
every day when I play and teach. I mean, particularly in the teaching, I would say.
What do you think when you think of him? What are your thoughts?
Well, just little things that he would tell me, and the lessons come back, and I use them all the time. I'm looking for that spark of, just needing to communicate and having something really expressive and having something very personal to say.
After the lesson, Matt shared a letter with me that he wrote to his teacher, Leonard Rose. A letter that he would have wanted to have written if Mr. Rose were still alive.
Dear Mr. Rose, I will never forget our first lesson. I was 11 and proud to be
able to play for you Schubert's difficult Arpeggione Sonata. You stopped me after the first movement, graciously moved the music stand aside, and suggested we begin by playing only one note. You then drew from your cello the richest, most glorious sound I have heard to this day. We spent the next month working not on any repertoire, but on producing the ideal sound on just a single note. You're the embodiment of good taste. In fact, I never saw you in anything but a 3-piece suit. If I saw you break out into a smile when I played, I knew I could have the courage to play a solo with any orchestra in the world. And you would always follow
praise with, but don't let it get to your head. Humility would go hand in hand with the striving for the highest musical standards. You instilled musical human values by example. Beyond the generosity of sharing your knowledge, you invited me to perform with you some of my first and most inspiring musical experiences. You were and still are in my memory a larger-than-life human being and as dear to me as a grandfather. Your students were so close to your heart, and you gave us so much. Thank you for inspiring me with a sense of responsibility for the next generation and to continue to pass on your ideals as a cellist and as a man. Yours always, Matt. If you're going to be a performing artist and you're going to tour, you got to roll with the punches and got to have a kind of happy-go-lucky attitude, because if you don't, it's a very long road ahead.
Once again, the elements threaten to delay or cancel the next concert.
The concerts will be wonderful and fun, and everyone will remember playing out in this beautiful Italian plaza.
But by evening, the clouds parted, providing a magnificent sky over this breathtaking venue. You know what's strange? When you go to a place you've never been before with people you don't know that well, and you feel joy, it's the music that brings us together.
One lesson we're trying to teach our PACO students is that it's the process that counts, not really the performance. I don't get nervous until I step on the stage. I can be in my dressing room looking at the score, watching my clock, putting on my bow tie, and then I take that walk from the dressing room to the side of the stage, and I'm standing there, and at that moment is when, if nerves are going to hit me, that's when it happens. It's just, oh my gosh, it's like the top of the roller coaster. You're going up, 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 slowly, and then when you're not really nervous till you crest that final top of the curve and start down, and that's what it feels like to me, like, okay, here we go. And everyone should be proud of what they've done to prepare for this evening, but the work and the interesting work is done in the rehearsals. Doesn't really matter what the concert sounds like. If you come in with that attitude, of course the concert's going to be fantastic. If you come in worrying about every note, am I going to hit that shift? Much more likely that something's going to go wrong.
The cello is like this anthropomorphic entity, right? I mean, we talk about the body of the instrument and the neck, so it's very much like a human being.
In the next 24 hours, Matt would finally find the answers to questions about his instrument that he had been searching for years.
My whole, I don't know, musical heart is, what can I do to bring to life the core of this music?
From Florida to New York, called the Orange Blossom Special. Italy is one of my favorite countries to visit. The people are so wonderful. And of course, it's the font. There's the Italian, and then there's the sort of more Northern European strains of classical music. We play a lot of Italian music, Vivaldi, Corelli, Donizetti, Verdi. Our job as musicians is to implement the composer's intentions. As someone with a lot of experience playing this music, I can help the younger musicians realize the music more fully.
As we boarded the boat for Cinque Terre, I looked around at the chaperones, the parents who had accompanied the students through all of these days. There was Tony, who shared a private memory with me about playing the accordion just as his daughter Catherine plays the cello today.
You picked up an accordion. Could you actually play yourself, or
maybe a scale or two?
I circled back and talked to Larry and Jenny about their son William.
Our son just really loves this orchestra, which is great. It's just been such a great experience for him, different from my high school orchestra experience by a lot. It's just, it's smaller, it's less kind of competitive.
Parents, they're our first teachers.
Well, your mom is a pianist, right?
Yes, and she had 40 or 50 students of her own back then, so she was very busy, but this was actually a good thing for us, our relationship, because finally she did take an interest, and so she would practice with me for half an hour a day, and that was our time together.
They see the best in us, believe in us when others don't or might give up.
I saw her blossom and bloom.
They show us it's okay to trust, to laugh, to cry, to feel pride and self-worth. Sometimes they're our best friends, even though they might say the one thing we don't want to hear. And when they inspire us, most of the time, parents never hear these two words.
Thank you for allowing me to come here. I mean, just support and everything.
A huge positive development. T. William, the violinist who fell ill at the beginning of the tour, has now rejoined the orchestra. His fellow students are thrilled.
What was it like to come and join the group?
It was fantastic, beyond belief, yeah. I'm really glad I made it. The group was here, I couldn't leave the group, you know. But I'm really sorry I had to put a lot of people through trouble.
Everybody was so happy that he was finally coming back to us.
As we arrived in Cinque Terre, Matt shared his plans to find the origin of his instrument. We would meet the students in Cremona at the Stradivarius Museum.
Goffriller was particularly known for his cellos. This one is made in 1710. It was like love at first sight. It's an interesting example of Matteo Goffriller, who was a great maker of instruments in Venice. Each one of them is quite different, and yet they all share a richness of sound. With Goffriller, you can dig and sculpt sound out of it, particularly in the bass. Starker played a Goffriller cello. Pablo Casals played Goffriller cello. Many of us prefer it to the Strads. It's an interesting story. I don't know the whole history of this instrument. Everything leads to music for me.
Sometimes you have to go places to find the answers. As Matt asked the crew to join him in his car, not much was said in the first few minutes.
My dream, I wanted to be one of the great cellists, and I had no idea what that meant, though. Not often, but when I do look back, I often am surprised by the life that I have now. I would never have anticipated that. Going back 20, 30 years, or sitting in Pecco, being completely absorbed in this classical tradition and not knowing what's going on.
We had a chance to share stories about some revered and long gone, like Janis Starker.
I got to get to know him a little bit and spent quite a bit of time with him. And in one of these sessions, he looked at me very intensely after several hours of being with him, and he said, "You know, I've made 100 recordings. I've played thousands of concerts over my life, but my greatest contribution and who I am is a teacher." And then he looked at me and he said, "And what about you?" You know, in the end, he's absolutely right. I think the teaching is really the legacy.
Just as Matt made this personal trek toward Venice, it turns out that T. William would make a journey of his own. T. William was able to trace the origin of his violin to this shop on this street in Cremona.
It's such a momentous moment for anybody to go meet the maker of this instrument, because it's so individual and so unique and so much our own.
It was actually pretty small. There's paintings and certificates everywhere, and there's the roof is decorated. Yeah, there's paintings on the roof, and one was like a display room, and the other was like the actual workshop.
And they're actually working on violins, right?
They are. They have works in progress on the walls.
This is stuff that we hear about, but we never see.
It's my first time in Venice. All these years. First time in 25 years for the cello back. It's amazing.
Here we are on water taxi number 1. Yeah. And we're taking a trip over to the Seine Stye on the Grand Canal. Tell me what you're thinking. What's going through your mind right now?
What's going on?
His smile said everything. After 300 years, Matt's cello had returned home. Waiting at the dock was Stefano,
We were in Cremona earlier in the day, and we just very briefly brushed with Stradivarius.
an expert and author on Venetian instrument makers.
Goffriller house is on the other side of the...
Oh, really?
Yes.
So we can swim across? Or
No, we have to take again the boat.
He took us on a walking tour
We are going now to see the home and the workshop of Matteo Goffriller.
to trace the story of Matt's cello. Stefano showed us where this instrument maker lived,
In the old age was the workshop of Matteo Goffriller.
Wow.
And he was living upstairs on the first floor.
where he drank and ate with his friends,
Very strange place, a strange atmosphere, because all the houses are closed. Anyway, in that place there was for 200 years one of the most famous inns of Venice, the White Lion. I think that now is inside the house are living ghosts.
where he was married,
The baptism of Goffriller's sons.
and where he buried his children. When we arrived at the location where his shop once stood, Matt took out his cello and played. Matt's cello had finally returned home. Before we left, Stefano asked to examine the instrument closely. What he told Matt was nothing short of a revelation.
There is a chance that like the Ospedale of Vivaldi commissioned this cello.
I have the paper also. And Goffriller was selling instrument to La Pietà, and I have also some invoices for Ospedale La Pietà made by Goffriller for some instrument and checked by the teacher at the age that was Vivaldi.
So based on the year that the cello was made, based on the size of the cello, which may approximate the size for a young lady at the time to play, you know that he was making instruments for 4 different orchestras, and Vivaldi was acquainted with this instrument maker. There's a possibility that Matt's dream is possibly true, that this cello could have a direct line to Vivaldi.
But I think that Goffriller was producing instrument for abroad. That is why he was, according to my opinion, according to my analysis of paper, for sure Antonio Vivaldi was acquainted with Matteo Goffriller.
Well, this is a fantasy that I had about the instrument,
Matt's instrument may have been commissioned by Vivaldi himself.
Hi, feeling one piece of Venice that came back home. No?
It was quiet in the car riding back. There was not much more to say. In the trunk of the car was Matt's cello.
At our last concert, Matt kind of gave us this little speech, and he was like, yeah, my instrument is from here, and so to be able to come here and play, he talked to us about how special that was for him, and it made me think about where instruments come from. And
do you think that there's a life to the instrument?
I think so, especially since a lot of the instruments are so old and carry so much history with them. It's kind of weird because you know that someone before you has played it and the instrument was part of them, and now they must be a part of you.
Inside this ancient heart, we may have it all wrong. I mean, this may be the thing that is alive forever.
Yeah.
And we're temporary, right?
To know that your instrument will go on even when you're not, and someone else will go on playing it and making music through it even when you're not. It's almost like you can leave a piece of yourself behind in the instrument, and the instrument will carry it on. He also talked about how he was in Pecco and how much it meant for him to be able to come back to it, even so many years later.
T. William rejoined his friends in the first violin section and on very little sleep and practice, he resumed his part as one of the soloists. Maybe it was just the room, the huge crowd in the audience. Maybe it was just the sound of Venice still in my mind. But Matt's cello sounded different to me.
This music is universal. It has a universal connection, and whoever hears it, young, old, whatever musical background you're from, whether you love bluegrass or jazz or indie rock or classical, I mean, instantly it touches you, and it cuts through all of the outer layers of our being and really touches a core. It's really about everyone learning to play an instrument and enjoying, having the greatest joy of their lives to play chamber music, to play together, to play in an orchestra, regardless of whether it's professional or the highest quality or whatever it is. I mean, actually physically getting engaged, doing it, and having that experience.
As I returned to Los Angeles, I sensed that everything for me had indeed changed. My view of music, but mostly my view of myself. I don't have to be a professional musician, but I can still love music and still let it be a part of my life and sort of help me govern my ethics and my way of playing well with others. And that is because of one moment. In a church in Cinque Terre, I had my first cello lesson in 30 years. I just love that. I love that.
Third beat, you know? Finally you get it on the downbeat.
I have to say two things. It's sort of like, how do I put it? Sharing this private moment with you is sort of like, hey.
That's really funny. Did you set up to be a metronome? You want to play this cello?
Oh, come on, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my
you want to
God.
play it? Here.
What?
Use the piccata.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Long ago, when I was a student, my teacher once said to me, Ty, in anything beautiful, look closely enough and you're sure to find a flaw. Even in the finest cello, at an interval above an open G string, a harmonic convergence occurs, a wolf tone, a harsh, piercing collision of two notes that rings like the devil's spitfire, which is to say, nothing worthwhile ever exists without remorse. We are left with choices: learn to live with our demons or leave it all behind. For the lucky few who can look beyond those things that would ruin us, then and only then can we find purpose, truth, and our way back home. For in the end, we're all imperfect instruments.
I mean, this used to have serious wolf tones, but I don't think we could find it today. I could look for it. It's there.
This beautiful instrument, even this perfect instrument, in a way is strangely human. It has a flaw that even the greatest instrument maker cannot find a way to solve. Perfect.
You don't want to solve it. You want to appreciate that, those differences and those faults. You have to edit those two together.